actually had some questions. Maybe we can start, and when Devashis comes, we can continue.
You just go on.
So, our Saturday program. I think almost everyone here was here last week. Also, maybe a few weren't here last week. But I know Newton had some very nice questions, so I was thinking we could take the chance to address them now.
Yeah. Sure. Okay, so the one of them was the three gunas, if you could explain those.
Jai Vishakha Devi ki
Jai. And the other one was, how can we, the teachings of Gita, how can we put it to real life? I mean, to everyday living. If you could explain those.
Okay. So, in regards to the gunas, then, was there something in specific? Do you want to give some context? Or
no, because I just started reading the chapter.
Because you're reading about the gunas in Bhagavad Gita and it's not so clear.
Yes.
Is that what it is? Okay. Then I think most of you are already familiar with the gunas, but for those who aren't, for those who aren't, gunas, guna means quality. So the gunas are referring to material qualities or energies. It's often translated as modes. It also, interestingly, can mean rope. So they're also described as like ropes that bind us in this world. And so Maya, the energy of illusion in this world, Mahamaya, it is said that these three gunas, these modes of nature, as they're often referred to, they are the primary things that are dominating, influencing us in this material environment. And it's also said that they are perpetually in a kind of battle between themselves to have more dominance over us. And so what are these three energies? There is Sattva Guna, means the mode of goodness, the energy of goodness. There's Raja Guna, means the mode of passion. And then there's Tama Guna, means the mode of ignorance. And so when we're under the influence of one of these modes, then we'll be conditioned by the qualities that are associated by those modes. Right? So there are energies pervading this atmosphere, and we will also have, according to our karma and our particular acquired nature, we will be more or less under the influence of these different energies to greater or larger degrees. Right. And our Gurudev, we think we were hearing in a video recently, he was saying how no one is 100% anything. No one's 100% mode of goodness, no one's 100% mode of ignorance or 100% mode of passion. Everyone has like some percentage of each. Someone may be 60% mode of goodness, 20% mode of passion, 20% mode of ignorance. There will be so many different ratios that everyone has, right? And also everything in the environment is associated with one of these modes, and then even different times of day, right? That's one reason why we're encouraged to wake up early, because that's connected with the mode of goodness. So when we wake up at that time, then we're tapping into that energy, and that's more supportive of our spiritual practice, right? Then like late at night is more like tamaguna, the mode of ignorance. And so in the Vedic lifestyle, one, designs their day so that they're, as much as possible, trying to connect with the mode of goodness, which gives the best support for spiritual practice. So then also like different types of food, are mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, right? So this is one reason why the vegetarian diet is recommended, because it's an ahimsa diet, right? So there's less, violence connected with it. So all of these energies that you're connected with, they're going to affect you, right? And they're going to affect your mind. Mode of, intoxication, that's like mode of ignorance, right? Coffee, mode of passion. And so now one thing which can be a bit complex to understand and navigate is that ultimately in the path of bhakti, we're not interested in any of the gunas, right? There's more emphasis on the mode of goodness, and the general Vedic lifestyle is all about sattvic life living, right? But ultimately, bhakti is referred to as nirguna. So there's the gunas, or there's another helpful phrase here, saguna. Saguna means with qualities, in parentheses, mundane qualities. So saguna means with material qualities. The nirguna means without qualities, in parentheses, without material qualities. And so bhakti is actually interested in the nirguna plane, which transcends. Nirguna means without gunas, right? So it's actually transcending the saguna plane, and that's what can get a bit tricky, because how we're trying to emphasize the sattvic lifestyle, but we also don't want to get overly obsessed with that, right? In other words, fixated on the importance of cleanliness and justice and all these things, right? Obviously, they're good, but from a higher perspective, they're valuable as much as they're connecting us with the eternal current, right? Like as an example, someone may be a wonderful environmentalist. They're really fixated on doing good for the environment, doing good for others, but they could be an atheist at the same time, right? And okay, that's their business, but how far are they going to go with that? They're not realizing what's the real treasure of this human birth, which is to realize our eternal nature and to connect with our loving guardian. So ultimately, all of that goodness, how far is it going to take them and how much is it worth, right? If it's not connecting with the plane of bhakti, right? And the eternal nirguna flow. And then another thing is that we know that the Lord, Krishna, he's, bhakti, it has its own independent flow, right? In other words, bhakti's not checking, did you brush your teeth this morning, right? Oh no, you're disqualified. Did you brush your teeth? Balaram's laughing. He's like, oh, I didn't. My daddy doesn't know I didn't brush my teeth this morning. We may judge people on how clean they dress or how they do their hair or where they went to school or whatever, what kind of job they have. But the nirguna, the transcendental flow, doesn't care about that. It's just looking to see what's in your heart. What's the richness of your heart? Because someone may have all those qualities, but let's say they're very envious or they're very arrogant and proud about all of their wonderful qualities, then how valuable is that? So the flow of the nirguna plane, and Krishna, the Lord himself, he's interested in the richness of the heart, the devotion in the heart, how much love and compassion is in one's heart for others, right? So it's kind of a tricky thing, because yes, we do try to follow a sattvic lifestyle, because it gives a clean platform on which we can practice spiritual life, right? So we have these regulations, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex, because that creates a clean platform, which it makes our minds more clear. It makes it a little easier to practice spiritual life. But at the same time, whether or not you can follow that may or may not determine whether you get devotion, right? Because Krishna is looking at something deeper ultimately. It's not that you're going to be totally disqualified because you can't follow certain rules and regulations. And ultimately the idea is that the practice of devotion will itself purify us, right? Because that's the type of potency that it has, right? And another thing I wanted to mention, there's one very helpful analogy that's given in Bhagavad Gita, where it describes the influence of these gunas with this analogy these analogies, it says that, because actually all of these gunas are covering us and obscuring the light of the soul and its relationship with the Lord to some degree, right? And so it gives the analogy of an embryo in the womb. That's how the mode of ignorance covers us. So what is the mode of ignorance? Like extreme delusion, ignorance, bewilderment, laziness, all of this is all mode of ignorance. Complete misconception, ignorance, prejudice in the world, where there's that place in Gita, right, where it says one thinks the truth is exactly the opposite of what it is. That's the mode of, because like there are different types of knowledge, right? So there's knowledge in the mode of ignorance. There's faith in the mode of ignorance. So the way that the heaviness of the mode of ignorance is compared to the thickness of the embryo being covered by the womb. It's like heavily conditioning, where we can't perceive spiritual existence at all, practically, right? And then the analogy given for the mode of passion is of a mirror that's heavily covered, but with dust, right? So the covering's a little less, so there may be some glimmers of the light and truth that come through, but it's still fairly covered, right? But then for the mode of goodness, the analogy given is of smoke covering a fire, right? Where you can actually see the fire right through that smoke, but there's still some covering. A lot more clarity, a lot more lights coming through, but there's still some covering there, right? So it is like that. So it is like a bit of a tricky dance in our spiritual practice, where it's like we want to take support. Wow, Anjali Didi Chai, what a wonderful surprise. Your throne awaits you here. So it's a bit of a tricky thing to navigate, because it's very easy for us to get obsessed with the mode of goodness, to be obsessed with cleanliness and all these things. But we have to remember that should be used as a support system. The energy of goodness, a lifestyle in the mode of goodness, it's like a helpful platform on which to practice our life of devotion. And yeah, so as much as possible we try to eat things, to do things, watch things. Also that applies to television films, right? Horror films, these things are going to affect us, That's going to be like maybe mode of passion and ignorance, right? Some mix, some percentage. Right? So, okay, if you need to watch something, try and watch something in the mode of goodness, right? At least it's not going to drag you down too far, right? Oh, sorry, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. I'm noticing some pointed glances around the room. I'm not pointing the finger. Again, as we said, ultimately, these things aren't going to, predetermine us failing, because, ultimately the spirit of devotion can override anything, right? And I've grown up in this movement, and I like some of the absolute best devotees I ever knew, they had some terrible habits that they couldn't give up. So I've seen how I've had living experience of how that doesn't necessarily, cut us off. It's not what it's about. What did you say? No. So it's important that we keep, the spirit of judgment at bay, We don't judge others or even judge ourselves too much, Remember, we're all struggling. And another thing is, right, if we get too judgmental about others, we'll find that it will come to us, that it will come to us, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he mentioned that when we're criticizing others, it's like chewing poison, and then that will affect us, that will come to us. So it's a tricky thing, and we'll all have to go through many things in that regard. Does that answer your question? It makes
yes,
sense,
I
yeah?
just started reading it and I thought, you're here, so I might as well ask the question, yeah?
Okay.
Take advantage of your knowledge. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that was helpful. There's one verse that our Gurudev, actually he told this story when he was very young, because he joined his Guru's mission when he was 17 years old, right? He was very young, and he told this one story how his Guru had given him this book of verses. It's called Gaudiya Kantahar. It's a collection of many different verses on the teachings of Bhakti. It's quite nice because it's almost like a kind of encyclopedia of devotion, because it's organized by sections. It's very systematic, and it's a very helpful reference. Like, oh, I want to know something about Chaitanya Dev, go to this section. Oh, I want to find a verse about the Lord's Dham, his holy abode, his birthplace. I go to this section. And about Bhagavad, the scripture Bhagavatam, go to that section. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj had given our Gurudev that book for his study. And our Gurudev, he naturally had a brilliant memory, and from his early years. And so he memorized many verses there. And when he first joined the temple, he also immediately became the favorite of his Guru. And that made others in the temple envious, right? Like he was just this new boy who came in and he immediately got the spotlight, right? So he had some envy he had to face because of that. And he mentioned how there was one like senior member of the temple who used to really pick on him, about every little thing that he did wrong. Oh, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. And then our Gurudev, he remembered this one verse that's in that book, and our Gurudev could be a little cheeky, which I like, And so he quoted this one verse, which is saying, I think it's in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's saying, first conquer the mode of ignorance with the mode of passion. No, then conquer the mode of passion with the mode of goodness. Then conquer the mode of goodness with what we call nirguna, which is also referred to as Shuddha Sattva, means pure goodness, means spiritual, transcendental goodness, not just material goodness of this world. Then, conquer the mode of goodness with pure goodness. And then at the end it says, or you can just fully surrender to your Guru and you'll get everything through that. So Gurudev quoted this verse to this senior guy, saying, oh, maybe I'm doing some things a little wrong, but I have the faith, I'm fully surrendering to my Guru, and I'll get everything like that. And then he backs it up with this nice Sanskrit verse, right? And that devotee, he got so angry. And he went and complained to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Why did you give him this book? This is very dangerous. Why have you done this? So this is another strategy. And some people will approach the modes of nature in that way. Like, for example, you wake up, you're in the mode of ignorance. You have a cup of coffee, then you get yourself in the mode of passion. Right? Then you go and do some meditation, then you're in the mode of goodness. Like, this is one approach that some people will take, But we try to keep it simple, Keep ourselves in the spirit of offering and devotion like that. So that's one question. Then the other question was about applying Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, that's right, to everyday life. When you're working, you've got your colleagues to deal with, and then you've got your family and you've got everything else. Because you do get angry, and I do. And then you think, well, what do you say here? Because we're all right in an argument, everybody's right, So, what do you say? Because you don't want to criticize, and then it all comes back to you, doesn't it? So, how do you do this? How do you deal with it?
Right, that was the thing you mentioned to me the other day, that your question was more about like when there's a difference of opinion. But from one perspective, everyone's right.
Yeah.
So is that 2 questions then?
That's 2 questions. Okay.
Okay. Well, for the first question, maybe I'll say that one thing it's always very encouraging. Welcome. It's always very encouraging to remember in the practice of bhakti that ultimately we're not depending on our own strength, right? And this is what sets this practice apart from many others, like the yoga systems, which are emphasizing more one's own endeavor, one's own effort, right? And then these 2 terms are very helpful. Jai Devashis Prabhu. Just answering a question here.
Yes,
Yeah.
please carry on.
So these two terms are very helpful. Aroha Panta and Avaroha Panta. And Aroha Panta is referring to the ascending method, ascending path. And it means that we're trying to make progress on the basis of our own strength, right? And so this is emphasized very much in the yoga systems, right? Sense control, mind control, and it's all about our own effort, Then the other line of approach, Avaroha Panta. Avaroha is referring to descending, so the descending path. And so in that approach, we're focused more on inviting divine grace, and that's where the whole culture of Sharanagati, surrender, comes in. That actually, I'm helpless. I have no capacity. I can't do anything. And my Lord, only by your mercy will anything be possible. Will I be able to overcome, all of these obstacles? So in the path of bhakti, the focus is on that. And I think it's something that it's very easy to forget, because in material consciousness in general, part of the meaning of, this is actually the meaning of the false ego, ahankar. It means I do, right? I am the doer. So that idea is very much like embedded. That idea is very much ingrained in our consciousness, that it's all down to me. I, me, and mine. And so it's like a constant thing we have to remind ourselves that it's not down to me. It's up to, it's up to that higher being, my divine guardians, the Lord, the saints, and so on. And so we're always trying to invite the touch of that divine current, right? And we have to do our own part. That's where sadhana, our life of practice, comes in. That's really like a way of us showing that we're serious. It's like us picking up the telephone and asking for help, right? Dialing 911, please. Like, they'll come and help us, but we need to make the call. So our sadhana, our regulated practice is like that. We're going on with our practices, like we're singing these songs. We're trying to do some service. And we're offering some worship to the Lord. We're trying to live a Krishna-centered life, right? And we're like leaving space for that higher entity to come and enter into our lives, enter into our hearts. But ultimately, it's all up to them when and if that will happen, right? So it's not like we can make it forcefully happen. We're waiting. We're in the waiting game. We're in the waiting room. Right? When will that grace come? I'm struggling with my habits, my prejudices, anger, as you mentioned, and so many things. But it is up to the Lord. He can remove it all in an instant if he wants. Actually, it's not very difficult for him, right? We have this one beautiful song we sing every morning, a prayer to Guru, and it's talking about these 3 qualities that Lord Chaitanya emphasized of humility, tolerance, respect, and it's saying there, it's a prayer to Guru, like, please give me the strength to tolerate. Please give me the ability to give honor to all.
please let me feel real humility. It's a beautiful meditation because it's emphasizing that we can't do anything on our own, right? And we're really wholesale dependent on higher grace and higher connection. So that's actually very reassuring too. It's like, oh, thank God, like it's not on me, it's not on me. So yeah, we do our bit, we do our little practice every day, and ultimately we're waiting and we're depending on that higher touch, and that is what will. Because the thing is, like through these yoga systems, we can temporarily clear, and they can, people can achieve a type of temporary liberation. It may even last millions of years, but because it's not representing our intrinsic nature as loving servants and givers and dedicating agents, lovers, and eventually those persons will have to come back, right? So the real solution, the lasting solution is to get a visa. We were talking about this last week, to get a visa to that higher land. And that means the approval and the grace of the higher being, right? So yes, that is the spirit of our daily practice. Yeah. Devashis Prabhu is here.
But actually, this is a treat for me to hear from Vishakha. He's very one of the finest preachers from our line of Srila Govinda Maharaj, and can properly represent the conceptions of our Guru Bharga as given by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Then I'm very happy that if I can just hear something from her, like just now, just caught the tail end of that, but it's very perfect. Then she's not here so often, but here for a little while. Then please all take advantage of her association. That will be very good for everybody. And if anyone has any more questions, then she's the person you can direct those questions to.
High praise from you, Devashis. I know he doesn't give praise lightly, so it means a lot. Well, we did have a second question, and that was you were asking about if you're having some disagreement with someone, and you both have different opinions, but you also recognize that actually you're both right in a sense. Will you address that, Devashis?
What was that? The actual question that you just said? That was the gist of it.
I think that was it. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, it's like when you're working and you've got colleagues, you've got disagreement.
Yeah.
But you know that you're both right. Or even at home or whatever.
Yeah. Just the other day, actually, I was. I gave a talk at our other centre, and after the talk, one gentleman who's, been coming on and off. His family are associated with our mission, but afterwards he thought it was necessary to tell me about a mistake I'd made in my talk. Pointed out how I said something wrong. Actually, I didn't say something wrong, but I just said, okay, thank you for pointing that out to me. But in my experience, being right isn't always the most important thing. Being kind is more important. So if it unless it's something like really essential that you're talking about, then no harm to say, yes, you're right, I'm wrong. Excuse me, Then take the path of least resistance, if you like, If we, because this is part of our teaching, to practice humility. So it doesn't just mean, like when you're in the temple, I'll be humble, but when I go out the temple, I'm ready for a fight with anybody. No, this should be the nature, our nature. We want to make that our second nature, So, of course, Srila Sri Maharaj says, we are to be humble before the Vaishnava, not before the madman in the street, So then there has to be some adjustment there, And our Guru Maharaj used to say many times, religion means proper adjustment. That means how to deal with the environment. So, we try to find some harmonious dealing with the environment. And sometimes if that means for us to say, yes, you go first, please, you go first. And I said, I've seen in India, and maybe not so prevalent anymore, but I have seen in India on the train, people fighting over their seat on the train. But not like here, they're fighting to get that seat. They're fighting to the other person to have the seat. No, you have the, you sit, no, I insist you sit there. Then it's that a better kind of, if there's going to be a fight, then be the advocate for the other person. Then, and there's no harm for that, is there, So, often when we're in an argument with somebody, it's good to think, like, 6 months from now or a year from now, is that going to be an important thing in my life? What we're arguing about now? And usually it's not, so, we should try. And if we can make somebody, it can diffuse the situation. Even if you know that what you're saying is right, you're not wrong, but is it important? Is it important to be right in this instant? Just to be kind. Because ultimately people don't remember you for what you say, they remember you for what you do. It's very easy to say many things, but you have to, what do they say? Not just talk the talk, but walk the walk as well, So we have to be what we, what we believe, we have to be that. That's the best way. So to show an example, and think, we always thinking when we're moving in the world, that we're representing our creed, our teaching, our teachers. So then, maybe sometimes you see, I don't know, more I've seen in America, people wear a t-shirt, it says, what would Jesus do? Or what would Buddha do? Or something like that, So I think we can wear a t-shirt and say, what would Gurudev do? And if we can always think like that in our response to any situation, what would my Guru Maharaj want me to do in this situation? And we'll find a better harmony. And our Gurudev would always say, try to merge your account with Krishna's account. Then good or bad, right or wrong, everything going to Krishna. And so it doesn't matter if you're right or if you're wrong. If everything is in the hand of Krishna, then ultimately he'll make everything right. So, and there's a saying, they say, it'll be all right in the end, right? And if it's not all right, then it's not the end.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Very good.
Vishakha, do you want to add something to that?
Oh, that was very, very nice. I was remembering that story with Rupa and Sanatan, right? And we hear this incident with. Have you heard of the 6 Goswamis? Okay, they were these 6 scholar saints. They lived in the time of Lord Chaitanya and a little after. So this is going back around 500 years, but there's one story we've heard from our gurus. At one time there was this one, in India they have this ancient tradition of scholarly debate, and there were some scholars who used to travel to kind of earn titles for themselves and defeat other scholars in discussion. And so there was one scholar like this at one time, and he came to Vrindavan, which is where these Goswami saints were living, and he heard about, in particular, Rupa and Sanatan. They were the head of this group of 6, and he thought maybe somebody advised him also, if you can defeat them in debate, then you'll really be honored, right? And so he went to Sanatan, who was the elder first, and he's all ready, to engage in some tricky discussion. And he says, will you have some debate with me? But Sanatan Goswami, he didn't want to waste his time. He had much better things to do. He's working on so many ecstatic writings and has his own life of devotion. And so he just said, I'm so sorry, but I'm a little busy. I don't really have time. And then that scholar, he said, then will you sign this paper to say that you've been defeated by me? And Sanatan just said, yes, no problem. And so he signed the paper saying, I always remember that, because it's very easy for the ego to kick in and have these circumstances, and you want to no, I'm right, but like Prabhu said, to be kind is more important, to keep harmony in the relationship, that is more important, right? And so he signed it, and then the story goes on. He went to the next brother, Rupa, and same thing happened with him. But then the funny part was that then he heard about their brilliant nephew, Jiva, who was an incredible philosopher, scholar, Jiva Goswami. And so then he went to Jiva, saying, will you debate with me? I've just defeated your 2 uncles. And Jiva said, really? Okay, wait, can you prove it? Yes, I have this paper with their signatures. So let me have a look at that paper. And then Jiva Goswami, he has a different mood of devotion. And so he took the paper and he tore it out. And then he had some debate with them and defeated him, and for the dignity of his gurus. But the only thing I was thinking to add was, and I find this very harmonizing, that, as you said, every truth has some truth to it, right? Or every version of reality has some truth to it. And if we look at the whole style of the Vedic knowledge, it's like that. It's so accommodating. There's room for everyone, pretty much. And so what is really the issue is gradation. What is a higher truth and what's a lower truth? What's a temporary truth and what's an eternal truth, right? So then it becomes about the gradation of truth and what is an individual ready for, right? And so you can harmonize the situation. I said, well, I know I'm actually right, I know that I'm connecting with a higher level of truth, but they're not ready for it. You can massage your ego like that, But really, it's even mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, don't disturb the minds of ignorant people with very high truths. You're just going to confuse them, or they're gonna take what you've told them and apply it in the wrong way. Just keep things simple. Don't try and force something on someone who's not ready for that. So yes, then, we don't want to, as Prabhu said, it's most important to keep the good feeling in the relationship, right? And so if they don't want to happily hear what you have to say, then don't say it, right? But if they sincerely are inquiring, then that's another matter, right? If they're sincerely inquiring. Another helpful principle is that if we see that, perhaps this is going off into a bit of a tangent, but, we have to ask, is it our duty to correct this situation, right? Is it just about my ego, or is it actually necessary? Am I in a position, and is it my duty to correct this? Then it may actually be our duty to step in. Like for example, if you're a manager and something's going on with one of your employees, that's disturbing others, and that's not a time to turn a blind eye and be humble, right, and tolerant. Our humility and tolerance has to be properly adjusted, right, in connection with the higher truth. So many things have to be considered.
Thank you for that.
Could you also shed a little bit of light on how the Guru Maharaj says, the truth should be palatable?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, actually, yeah. Well, actually, it's a statement that somewhere in the scriptures, maybe Prabhu can say where, it's something like Satyam Bruyat, Priyam Bruyat, Satyam Apriyam Ma Bruyat, saying that always speak the truth, always speak that which is pleasing. Always speak the truth, always speak that which is pleasing, never speak an unpleasing truth. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj came across this statement in his young years at some time, and he actually struggled with it because Srila Sridhar Maharaj had a very dharmic nature. He was born under the same sign as Lord Ramachandra. Ramachandra is known for being very righteous, very moral, very honest, very upright, dharmic, and all these things. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj's nature was actually to always tell the straight truth, the raw truth, right? That was his nature. And, even, white lies, he wasn't into that. We heard some stories with our Gurudev, like, sometimes, in the running of a mission for practical purposes, just a little white lie, it's necessary, but even that, he'd taken a vow, right, at one time that he would never tell a lie. And so when he read that, he struggled with it a little bit, and then he just kind of let it sit and he, thought, I'll let that be for now. And then later he had this understanding that the highest type of truth is also imbued with the quality of mercy, or beauty. That's a higher type of truth. That's what, Krishna, you could say in a sense, and somebody might shoot me for saying this, but Krishna Leela is a lie, you could say, right? That Krishna is actually God, but in his own hometown, nobody knows that. They're all pretending he's their beloved son and buddy, lover, and so on. There's another type of, speaking of illusion, as we were earlier, this is another type of illusion. There's Mahamaya of this world, but there's also Yogamaya of the spiritual world. It's another type of illusion. So they don't know that Krishna is God, because that would spoil the relationship, right? So that's also an example where it's not raw truth, right? We can take a simple example of a child who's just drawn some scribble on a piece of paper and takes it to oh, look, mommy, this beautiful palace I just drew. Oh, yes, darling, that's so lovely. You're not going to say, oh, well, actually, this just looks like some sloppy mess. Let's sign you up for some art classes. So then you have to question, actually, what is truth, right? And what's a deeper type of truth? Truth, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, that's imbued with this quality of mercy, love, beauty, all of these things. But I'm sure Prabhu can say something much more on that subject matter.
No, not really. But Socrates, I think it was, he said, before you say something, you should apply 3 factors to it. Is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? So if somebody came to him, they wanted to, complain about someone. Do you know what about this person, what he did? And that was his question. Is it actually true what you're saying? He says, well, I don't know. I heard it from Joe, or whatever it was. I can't really say if it's true or not. Okay. Then is it necessary to tell me that about this? Like, how will it? Is it just gossip, or is it something that I really need to know? And then, is it kind what you want to say about that person? Is it kind? If not, then don't say it. Unless I think there's a proverb that says, unless what you have to say is more beautiful than silence.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Wow, that's gold.
Unless what you have to say is more beautiful than silence.
Truth is, in this world, truth is always subjective, and it's always, relative truth, and so, we shouldn't be so concerned with relative truth. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of our great previous gurus, he said, sometimes even a saint, in his writings, he may say, oh, the place where I was born with that river and the mountain there, it's the most beautiful place on earth. He may write that, So, but objectively, it might not be the most beautiful place on earth. To him, it may be. But so, and he says, so if in my writings, if I ever say anything like that, please feel free to disregard it. But please don't disregard the essential truths that I'm trying to, give you in my writing. And to differentiate between the two is important. It's important for us, Some things are relative and some things are absolute. And when the two come to clash, which inevitably they must at some point, then we must always give our priority and preference to the absolute truth. So, these are all things, that we learn in our life. And as practitioners of this path, one of the things that we learn over the years is when to not say anything. Because, that's our nature, is we want to just be talking all the time, isn't it, And speaking all the time, and, but sometimes it's not necessary, It's not necessary to talk about every incident or every, My mother, she's like 87 years old now, and we have the same conversation at least 2 or 3 times. She's telling me about, and she tells me the news about people I've never even met, that I probably will never meet, but she just needs to talk sometimes, So I just listen to it. Okay, yeah. But if we practice Krishna consciousness, then that involves having some kind of a filter, on our ego, on the urge to speak. This is in the first verse of Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita, one who can tolerate the urge to speak. He gives that as like one of the qualifications for somebody that's qualified to be a guru. Actually, that's what he's speaking about. can tolerate the urge to speak. You don't have to just speak about everything all the time, you know. And in Srila Prabhupada, in one of his purports of his books, he says that like unending chatter that people are always talking about. He says like the croaking frog is just inviting the snake to come and eat him. I know that, you know, some people they do this monobrata, don't they? You know, they're not speaking. Actually, in our mott there was one senior disciple of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and later he became Aranya Maharaj, Bhakti Prasanna Aranya Maharaj, but we knew him as Krishna Sharan Prabhu. And he would after sunset he wouldn't speak till the next morning.
Uh-huh.
And that was like his hot habit, you know, that he wouldn't do that. And he was also the quartermaster of the temple in his day. So if you needed anything, he was the person you had to go to. So one evening it had turned very cold, and I went to him and I asked him, could I have a blanket? And he just went, like, you know, I don't speak now like in the night. So I went back to my room and froze during the night. And I'm like freezing during the night. And early in the morning, just before the Mangalarti time, I'd knock on my door, and I opened the door, and it was him with a blanket. He'd give me the blanket. He liked to play jokes on us sometimes.
Oh, so he did it in a playful spirit.
Yeah,
okay.
He was my teacher, actually. You know, when Srila Guru Maharaj told me when I was staying there, you can learn Vaishnav Sadachar from Krishna Sharan Prabhu. So okay, and but I wasn't a very good student, I have to say. He tried to teach me so many things, you know, that I couldn't get. One day he was trying to teach me how to tie a sacred thread, and he's showing me, and he's doing it very quickly, and you know, he was like been doing it his whole life, he was an expert with it. And then he'd say, now you go. And I'm like, what? And I couldn't do it, and he would just look at me and just shake his head, and sometimes he would say, therefore you are a mlecha. But one time, like, I mean, he taught me how to only eat with my right hand, and he would say, when you take prasadam, you sit on your left hand, so you don't use it, you know. It's just normal, right? You've got a chapati or something. But no, you have to learn how to tear that with just the right hand, and all of this. And sometimes I'd forget, and he would say, therefore you are mlecha. And that means like uncivilized, you know. But one day he said that to me in front of Guru Maharaj, therefore you are mlecha. And Guru Maharaj caught it, you know. Guru Maharaj's hearing wasn't very good, but he caught it, and he took him aside, and I heard him. He said, you cannot tell he is mlecha because I have accepted him as my disciple.
Wow.
Then after that, he never said that to me ever again.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Wow, well, there it is, and you know, there's a record. Srila Sridhar Maharaj accepted you. Wow, that's a big thing.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Even to his last days, he was like so strict with himself as Aranya Maharaj. And sometimes, you know, whenever he's showing some like illness and we're thinking, oh, now he's going to pass away, and Gurudev would rush to his side and sit with him, hold his hand, and you know, and then he'd just recover, you know. But on Ekadashi, he always used to do Nirjal Ekadashi, every Ekadashi means without even water, every Ekadashi. And he's like in his 80s now. And Srila Govinda Maharaj would say to him, Maharaj, you don't need to do this anymore, you know. You don't need to follow like that. And he would say, yes, I know, Maharaj, but it's my habit. And I heard that, I thinking, wow, you know, most of us, when we say it's my habit, it's about something bad, isn't it? You know? Yeah, it's my habit to do that, sorry. Something objectionable. But not only did he follow Nirjal, he would begin his Ekadashi Brata after the sun went down in Navadvip. And he wouldn't eat anything again till the Paran time on the you know, like 2 days after, basically. So, and generally in Navadvip the sun sets about 5:30 in the evening. There's not much different, not like here, you know. Sometimes it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and sometimes it's 10 o'clock in the afternoon. You know? But in India it's more or less the same all the time. So like about 5:30, that was it. He would begin his Ekadashi observance then.
Prabhu, was his vow of silence after sunset
Yeah, after sunset.
a personal vow he took, or is it actually also a common practice amongst?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just his personal thing, you know. But he was very extraordinary Vaishnava. When we were we were with Gurudev in Vrindavan, in Govardhan, one year, and suddenly he appeared there from Navadvip. He hadn't come with the party or anything. He just appeared there, and Gurudev said, "Oh, Maharaj, you're here." He said, "Yeah." I talked, and he'd come, you know, on various trains and everything, and he always refused to pay on the train. He would never pay on there. He would always show his red cloth and say, "No, I am sadhu, I'm not paying." They never charged him.
In India that works,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
No
yeah.
other country in the world. On the tube, yeah. Try it on the tube. It's
Very
wonderful.
exceptional to Vaishnava.
Is that why you see all these people, sadhus in Saffron, and saying get free rides on trains?
Maybe, yeah. For some people, that is a free ride is the reason why they show themselves to be sadhus. Maybe not just a free ride on the train, but a free ride in life. But that isn't actually the criteria. Just that you wear red cloth isn't the criteria to be a sadhu. Much more than that, as we hear of, you know, that the Vaishnava who wanted entrance into Mahaprabhu's nocturnal kirtan, and he thought that he should be given an entrance because he only lived by drinking milk. And he thought that made him very qualified, you know. Then, but Mahaprabhu told, milk drinking is no qualification for Krishna consciousness. And incidentally, not milk drinking is also not a qualification for Krishna consciousness. I think it's another era that's passed when we see these kind of Vaishnavas, you know. As Vishakha Didi mentioned, you know, that Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he never told a lie in his entire life. And we hear that was also the case with Mahatma Gandhi. He never told a lie in his entire life. And Martin Luther King, when talking about Gandhi, said, in the future generations will not believe that such a person existed. Gurudev was telling us about that one time, about, Guru Maharaj never telling a lie. And he said, I also never told a lie until I came to the service of Guru Maharaj. And then sometimes for his service I had to tell, as he said, like a white lie, So, but Guru Maharaj would never tell any lie. And it was kind of a remarkable thing. Just that is a remarkable thing. And when Gurudev was telling us about that, I said to him, I said, how is it, Maharaj? And that I've tried to bring my own children up to be honest and not to lie or anything, but they lie all the time, You know what kids are like, right? No, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. I was, And Gurudev just laughed, and I said, why is it? I never taught them to lie, but somehow they're. And he said, that's because they're intelligent. Sometimes to navigate the world, those things are necessary. Right? When you're a sadhu, you don't need to have to navigate the world. You can go on the train, and when the ticket collector comes, so I'm not involved with this world, like do your worst. And this was just something I was reading recently about from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he's talking about sadhu sangha, the necessity of sadhu sangha. I've said it quite a bit recently, so forgive me if you heard it already, but he's given the definition of what is sadhu sangha. And he says most people think that sadhu sangha means that you find a saintly person and you try to serve them and give gifts to them and maybe some money or some honor and all of these things. And he said, although all those things are good, no doubt, but that's not actually sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha means to see what are the saintly qualities in that person and try to make those qualities in your own self. That's what sadhu sangha is really. That who they are, that you will also become like that. And this was the answer from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He was asked by one of our devotees, how can we please you? And Guru Maharaj, first of all, Guru Maharaj was a little bemused by that. He said, please me. Then he, like, okay, yeah, as Guru disciple, like that, okay. First of all, he thought it was an absurd question, like, what? How can you please me? Should I be pleased? And then he's thinking in that, more philosophical meaning with Guru and disciple and so on. And that devotee who asked him that question, he was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So I think everyone who knows his teachings, if anyone said to him, how can we please you? I think everybody knows what his answer would be, right? Distribute my books, that's what he would say. If you want to please me, distribute my books. So maybe that devotee was thinking Guru Maharaj would say something like that. But Guru Maharaj, he considered the question, and then his reply was, what I am meant for in this life, what I have given my life for, what I want to spend my every moment and my every waking breath to serve that ideal that I've understood from my Guru Maharaj. If you can do that also, that will please me. So, that's a big ask from anyone, isn't it? And even Guru Maharaj admitted that, in as much as someone said, why is it we see that so many stalwart devotees, like generals in the mission, and that falling away and leaving, and Guru Maharaj said it's almost impossible to find someone that's going to give their whole life for the service of Mahaprabhu, then you shouldn't be surprised at who goes away, but you should be surprised at who stays. Then I remember Akinchan Maharaj. He said once, in one of it, he used to write a blog, and in one of those blogs he said, we make promises to our Gurudev, and then our circumstances change things, and we can't maintain those promises any longer. So, but he said, but that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable that you should make promises to your guru and then say, well, that was then, but now, this has happened and that has happened and I have to do this and I have to do that, and, we compromise with that. So the world is like that. The world tries to force us to compromise with our ideal. I've got this responsibility, that responsibility. At that time I didn't have that, then now. But now, circumstances have changed. But it's right, it's not acceptable really, because, our promise to our Gurudev is the connection that gives that for our eternal life. It's not something in this world that we can just change on a whim, or because of the circumstances or whatever. We have to try to maintain that in spite of everything, and if we can do that, then we'll be successful. Otherwise, Srila Guru Maharaj said, it's like stealing the metal from the smith who's meant to make your weapon with that. Think about that.
Can you say that again?
Stealing from the smith the metal that he's meant to make your weapon with. This is Guru Maharaj's expression. But we're all works in progress, aren't we? So we shouldn't become despondent. When we trip over, then we have to just get up and try again. What's that song? It's a song, I like it. It says, you have to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. Go on with the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. in between.
Is that our signal to start arati?
Yeah.
Counting heads for lunch, yeah. It's a good strategy. Instead of a little kid, yeah. Yeah, it's a good strategy.
Who's the decorator? You?
Radharani, no. Radharani Dasi, always.
That's really very
she
nice.
has visions.
Yeah.
She can do, I don't know.
That's beautiful.
Magic.
Yeah, magic.
Jai Sriman Devashis Prabhu ki Jai, Shri Guru Deva ki Jai, all the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai. So we'll have Arti now.
Jai.
Bhajase Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Bhajase Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Asya Chaita Gadadara Sivasati Gauramakare. Bye. Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhari
Jai.
Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Jai. Jai Shri Sandhya Arta Madhyam Bhagar Jai. Saraswat Madhacharya Bhakti Paramahanta Parive Vicharya Varesa Sarasa Bhakti Sriman Bhakti Sundar Sriyukta Maharaj Paramahanta Parive Vicharya Varesa Sarasa Bhakti Sriman Maharaj Paramahanta Parive Vicharya Varesa Sarasa Bhakti Sriman Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Bhakti Maharaj Ananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Swastika Jagannath Gauji Maharaj ki jai. Guru Varga ki jai. Jagannath Thakur ki jai. Saraswati Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Vishakha ki jai. Prabhu ki jai. Sriman Acharya Prabhu ki jai. Devi Thakur ki jai. Viraj ki jai. Sriman Prabhu ki jai. Mahaprabhu ki jai. Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samudra Radha Maharaj ki jai, Maharani ki jai, Saki Manaji ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Navaraya Sava ki jai, Akara Mataraya Sri Shikaramat ki jai, Jasa Samat ki jai, Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai, Chaitanya Saraswat Saraswat Saptar ki jai, Swaya Pitali Jasa Samat ki jai, Bol ki jai, Navadvet ki jai, Ravam Dham ki jai, Ram Dham ki jai, Vadadev Suvada Jagannath ki jai, Govinda Sundar ki jai, Saraswati Nagarayu ki jai, Vaishnava Mandala ki jai, Ameta Mastavinda ki jai. Abhivashi Mahamahotsav ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki
I don't know, sometimes I lose inspiration. I had a class on Good Friday yesterday. I was just reading from the presentation and I had another my colleague. I don't know. Sometimes you like have to be more, sometimes you just,
last week,
I don't know,
then you
just
disappeared. You didn't come to Vishakha.
Yeah.
I didn't see you at night.
I haven't told you that. Believe it or not. Have
Well, we've got to, it's obligatory. We have to have trouble. Sometimes,
Yeah. But
Totally
it's
right.
like sometimes, even if you
you know, I mean, gosh, I've
sometimes
got a
you
list myself.
another day what?
Troubles past, future, that I have now, you know. There's always something.
always something.
They keep you on your
Yeah, but
toes.
obviously they're more experienced because they've been doing it for a few years, so they
Anyway,
know how to.
it's lovely that you're here and you're happy to come.
Yeah, it was such a blessing.
Support, giving support, and it's great, it's also great that you remember you can learn a
See, the
lot.
thing is that
That's nice.
this is what they use.
After this, I'll be going to America. My cousins are opening up their house in California.
The ships, you know, when they go on the
So I'm gonna go and support
and
them.
they use this kind of stuff.
Young girls never forget it.
That's
Is it,
I
was special day for his daughter? She like dressed nicely?
No, I've got
We'll be
where I'm
waiting for
going.
you.
I don't know where I'm going. Something like that.
Some special. I thought you like birthday or something.
I pray that
So
you're
yeah, I mean,
Well, I don't know if I'll go to
no,
India again.
he was just saying that
I look
when you teach, you need to teach deliberately, not just read from the PowerPoint.
I looked very far. I looked everywhere. Because I don't know whether I was I don't know anything anymore, you know. Where are you going? Are we moving on?
I just